Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about the daily summary. Okay, so today I want to tell you guys about the daily summary, right? The daily summary. If there's one thing my team is probably sick of hearing about is the daily summary. Because that's one of my things I obsess about when I hire people, is that at the end of every day, or sometimes they do it at the beginning of the next day, but they should do it at the end of the current day. They should take 5 minutes and make a list of everything they worked on during the day, make a list of everything that's been done during the day, everything that needs to be done the next day that they plan on doing the next day, and if they've had any problems with anything that they might need assistance with. So it's just a simple thing. In the beginning we used to use email, so like I expected a daily summary email at the end of every day. That got to be difficult because emails get lost and everything. So I wrote this really cool Google script where it would send a document template every day to everybody, and they would fill that in, and it just went straight into Google Drive. And now we just use Slack. We use a channel on Slack for daily summary. So everybody on the team does that. And this is one of the things I found really difficult with developers is, when I hire someone, most of the time when I've let somebody go, and I've let dozens, we hire and let people go all the time. I've been through dozens of people already, and one of the biggest reasons I let somebody go is because they can't get the daily summary down, right? They just, they don't see the importance of it, or they just think it's not that important. They just can't get their head around it. So they'll go days without doing it, and then they'll do like all of them in one day, right? And it's really difficult because most people assume that, well, Eric told me to do this project, so he knows what I'm working on, so I don't need to do the summary. And I say, no, you have to do it at the end of every day. I want some detail as to what's been done in an 8-hour shift, right? So, and this is something I used to do myself when I was working, when I was contracting, especially on days when I worked from home. When you're not in an office and you got somebody looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes and, hey, what you doing, right? Then you feel you're at home for the entire day, an 8-hour shift. So you kind of want to show that there's some value has happened during the day, or that you've moved the ball forward. Like if you're on a project, or if you're on whatever you're doing. So like I would take 5 minutes at the end of every day, and I would write down, okay, here's what I did today. I worked on this web page or on this app, right? I've had a bit of issues with this, so I checked these websites here. Had a bit of issues. Then I moved on to this other project. I spent 2 hours doing this. I spent 1 hour doing this. Here are the problems that I had today. It was for some reason, the database connection that was supposed to work wasn't working, or whatever, and I will go through some of that. So we resolved it by doing this, and then I'll say what I plan on working the next day, which would be tomorrow. The next day is usually going to be resume working on whatever I was working on, or whatever. But and I send this to my boss, or when I was working a contract, I would send it to the person who hired me, and when I work in other jobs, I would send it to the manager, whatever. And it was always on the prefix of, you do not have to read this, but I'm sending it to you in case you need to know, right? And this is one thing, if you ever want to do really well, if you like working for other people, right? If you're like a contractor or whatever, and you want to be the last person that they ever let go of, be the daily summary guy. Just send something through, say, look, I'm not adding to your email load, I'm not spamming, you do not have to read this, I'm not, if I need something that needs your immediate attention, I will send it via some other means, but this is my daily summary of what happens at the end, during each day. And then it helps the person in charge feel like they're in control of everything, because they at least know what you're doing, or even if they don't read the emails, they know that they could go back and read them. Whereas most people don't do anything. They assume, oh, they know what I'm working on because they assign me the task, right? It's really like I will ask someone, like when I let somebody go, I'll say like, okay, you haven't done a daily summary in like 4 days. What have you been doing over the 4 days? And they'll say something like, I've been researching how to do so-and-so on the project. And I'll be like, so for 4 days you've been doing research on this one problem? And I said, yes. So 32 hours of research. So let's say you looked at 4 web pages an hour, which would be like not a lot. So you're saying you've looked at, hundreds of web pages. You should be an expert by now. Is that really what you've been doing? And more often than not, they don't really remember what they've been doing. They may have been working on it. Usually what happens, what I suspect happens is, you know, when you get stuck, like you got a problem and you get to something and you start, you know, you just go in this Google spiral where you start, you know, you spend hours in Stack Overflow or whatever, and you're just trying to figure stuff out, and you don't want to admit that you don't know what the problem is. Hey man, I've been there before. This is one of the reasons why in the daily summary I say, if you have any trouble, let me know, because you don't want to be in that situation where, you know, they spend hours and hours going, or days going off on some problem which you could probably, you might be able to solve in minutes, or at least be able to help with, or at least you know what the issues are, right? And it's just the big thing that people have when they hire people is just the feeling of being in the dark. I know that's with me too. Right now I'm working with another company. They're doing some work for us, and it's the same thing. I said, I want a daily summary every day. It's really hard to get that out of them, because they're like, oh, geez, what am I going to do? So, well, if you worked on this for 8 hours, I'm sure you have something you could talk about. You could put in your daily summary. I'm not saying it has to be an essay. I'm saying it has to be bullet points, right? And it's really hard. And this is something my dad told me what to do. Actually, he said when he was in the Navy, he was a captain in the Navy. He would say, going up the ranks, he said he would always just do like a 5-minute summary each day and send it off to the commander or whatever person above him, right? And so they always knew what was going on. So they might not know what everybody else was doing, but they always knew, like, I don't need to worry about him because he knows what he's doing, right? So anyway, daily summary. I just want to let you guys know that that's kind of how we run things here. You know, I've let so many people go because they don't do the daily summary, and it's just like, you know, they could be like, I mean, one guy he was so technically brilliant, right? And he seemed to be doing really good work, but he just really got lazy with the daily summary, to the point where I thought, I assume he's working on this stuff, but he's not doing the summary anymore, right? He's just not, I don't know what he's working on. Like, when he leaves for the day and he's no longer available, I'm thinking, I don't even know where we are with this project, right? If you're the person in charge, especially when we do work for clients, like, and the client calls me up and says, where are we with this? I need to know where it's going. So anyway, that's it. So for those of you who do hire people, like if you hire remote teams, I highly suggest that you implement this daily summary habit within everybody. If you do work for clients, with clients I'm not so good at this, because a lot of times like a day will go where we're not working on one client's project because we've got another client that we need to work on, but we do try to like keep clients updated on a daily basis too. So if you do work for clients, if you could just drop them a note each day saying, hey, here's what we did today, we did this, this, and this, I'll update you again tomorrow. You don't need to read this email, but if you want to, it's here, right? And if you work for somebody else, if you just started doing that, you'd be the star of the team, after a while. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope that's been useful. It might be a bit boring, but that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.